Kim Jong thought his biggest headache was his boring robot-filled job and his boss's weird requests. But things go off the rails when he gets locked in a warehouse during what feels like the freaking apocalypse. Just when he thinks it can't get worse, he unlocks a wild power to store whole buildings in his personal subspace. Now, he's dodging a giant orc, trying to make sense of his new powers, and wondering how his life got this messed up. Want to know what happens next? Me too, let's head straight to the story. Kim Jong vents to his robot coworker about Kim Sol forcing him into boxing, describing the training as a living hell. Sol later admits he only made Jong box because there were no junior division partners. Jong asks if this isn't ridiculous, but the robot, Pax, doesn't understand, apologizes, and walks away. Surrounded by robots in the Pax fulfillment center, Jong wonders why there are so few human workers, feeling out of place. After his military discharge, Jong's parents moved away 2 months earlier, leaving him alone in a small studio apartment. Financially stable with savings and government support, he began job hunting without urgency, fantasizing about a cafe job. However, his dreams were crushed when he wasn't even qualified for part-time cafe work. After a month of failure, he shared his frustration with his sisters, who teased him. His oldest sister mocked his inability to find work, while his second sister suggested he join her gym. They also mentioned that AI-driven delivery companies were popular among their peers. Curious, Jong took their advice and found himself at the Pax fulfillment center, surrounded by robots doing all the work. At work, manager Shin asks Jong to check the warehouse for missing tuna cans. Jong finds them but realizes they were misplaced. Just as he retrieves a box, the warehouse door shuts, locking him inside. Annoyed, he tries calling for help, but no one answers. He considers calling 119 but decides against it, not wanting to escalate the situation. Instead, he sends a picture to his sisters, explaining he's locked in the warehouse. His second sister jokes about him working in an escape room, then suddenly mentions that a building near her house has collapsed. At that moment, Jong's phone rings. Jong answers a call from his second sister, but there's no response. Annoyed, he accuses her of prank calling, but then the ground shakes, alarms blare, and an announcement urges evacuation. Trapped in the warehouse, he bangs on the door, trying to call 119, but there's no signal. Panic sets in as he hears something approach, and a force dents the door. Realizing whatever is outside isn't human, Jong hides, terrified. For 3 days, he survives on tuna. The blaring alarms are finally silenced, but no one comes to rescue him. He wonders if there's a war happening outside and writes a final note on his phone, hoping the soldier who finds his body will stay safe. Suddenly, a system notification appears, revealing he has awakened a new ability, access to a personal subspace, level 1, where he can store objects. Bitterly laughing, Jong tests the ability by storing the entire Pax fulfillment center. The system asks if he wants to proceed, and he agrees. The building shifts, knocking him to the ground. Stunned, he notices dead bodies around him and vomits. The system continues updating, showing 6% progress in searching for an operating system. As he processes this, a massive creature approaches. A growl echoes, similar to what he heard 3 days ago. Jong panics and runs, realizing a giant orc is chasing him. The system flashes again, announcing synchronization is complete, and asks if he wants to enter his subspace. Desperate, he shouts yes, just as the orc catches up. Expecting to be struck, he closes his eyes, but nothing happens. When he opens his eyes, the orc is unable to approach. Confused, Jong asks why. A drone informs him that nothing can enter or leave the subspace without his permission. Jong realizes he's now inside his subspace, safe from the orc. Shocked, he looks around and finds himself back in the Pax fulfillment center, struggling to comprehend everything that's happened, unsure of what comes next. Jong, still in shock, asks Pax if the entire fulfillment center is really stored in his subspace. The system confirms that Jong has entered subspace for the first time, triggering a tutorial and earning him a mana stone, which materializes in his hand. Confused about the mana stone, he's interrupted by an orc violently punching the entrance to his subspace. Worried, Jong asks Pax again if the orc can enter, and Pax reassures him that it cannot. The system then provides details about Pax's fulfillment center, a 5-story building spanning 33,000 square meters with products designed to improve lives. It also reveals a shipping speed of 60 kilometers per hour, with a shipment capacity of 1 item and a size limit of 2 meters. Jong, confused about shipping speed, asks about the 2 minutes remaining before maintenance. Pax explains that the facility will shut down unless powered up and that mana stones now powers the system since its energy source was modified for subspace. Still baffled, Jong wonders if Pax has somehow become smarter. Suddenly, the lights go out. Pax informs Jong that the power has been cut, putting Pax Fresh at risk. Jong knows Pax Fresh delivers perishable goods like vegetables and meat. Realizing food is crucial in the chaotic, war-torn outside world, he asks if one mana stone can really power the facility for 24 hours. Pax confirms this, and Jong asks how to get more mana stones. Pax explains that mana stones can be harvested from beings of another world. Jong looks outside and realizes that the Furious Orc is one such being. Without hesitation, Jong instructs Pax to use the mana stone to restore power, which it does, notifying him that one mana stone has been used. Jong asks if he can still retrieve items from the fulfillment center, and Pax confirms that he can. He quickly searches for weapons, grabbing a camping hand axe, a folding steel knife, and a kitchen knife. However, he doubts that the knives can penetrate the orc's thick muscles and worries about running out of stock if he throws them too freely. Looking at the orc, Jong realizes that as long as he stays inside the subspace, the orc will remain outside waiting. He decides to injure it gradually. After throwing the axe and failing to injure the orc, which only grows angrier, Jong curses in frustration. Pax soon informs Jong that there are only 15 camping axes in stock, the same number as before he took one out. Suspicious, Jong checks the warehouse and sees the axe embedded in the ground. Pax explains that the items in the warehouse are converted into data, meaning they can be duplicated. Jong asks if the logistics center has infinite stock, and Pax confirms it does. Realizing he no longer needs to conserve resources, Jong jokes that his shoulder might give out before the orc does. Pax then tells him he doesn't need to throw items manually, the system can ship products outside of subspace. Shipments are possible once every 30 seconds, although the time can be reduced by enhancing the skill. Curious, Jong asks how to enhance the skill, and Pax explains that he just needs to think of the item and say ship to have it delivered. Jong tests it by shipping the axe, which flies out at high speed and strikes the orc, exploding its head on impact. Stunned, Jong asks what just happened. Pax clarifies that the default shipping speed is 60 km per hour, and Jong finally understands what shipping speed means. Pax also reveals that the speed can be adjusted up to 75 km per hour, but to increase it further, he will need more mana stones. Jong, now more determined, tells Pax that they need to gather more supplies. He changes into lightweight combat gear, combat boots, tactical pants, and a Pax fulfillment center uniform. He then pulls out a map of the Seoul metropolitan area and marks Gwangjin, Gangnam, Yeong, and Dabong districts as key locations. Realizing that Gunpo is the nearest starting point, he knows he has to act fast. For transportation, Jong chooses a Duelan Kodiak Sports electric bicycle. Though not as fast as a car or motorcycle, the 16.5 kg bike is ideal for his needs. He activates its lights and rides out of subspace, mentally preparing for the journey ahead. As he rides, he reassures himself that his family just needs to hold on a little longer because their youngest is on his way to save them. 30 minutes after leaving subspace, Jong has killed 12 orcs, learning two crucial things about his abilities in the process. While riding his bicycle, an orc lunges at him. Jong quickly kicks his bicycle away and jumps back into subspace just in time, narrowly escaping the orc's grasp. Now that he's had time to use his power in combat, he realizes just how overpowered it is. He ships an axe outside, slashing the orc's shoulder. Although the orc becomes enraged, slamming its fists against the subspace entrance, Jong knows he missed his target due to the shipping cooldown and its limited 10-meter range. He understands that he can upgrade his ability using mana stones. Jong also discovers another aspect of his ability, product retrieval, which automatically retrieves dispatched items. After missing his first throw, the axe floats back into the subspace, surprising the orc. 30 seconds later, Jong ships the axe again, this time successfully hitting the orc's head and killing it instantly. He realizes that product retrieval is convenient, not just for normal items like axes but also for mana stones, which are automatically transferred to him after killing enemies. The system informs him he now possesses 13 mana stones. He likens it to collecting money and appreciates the safety of subspace, knowing he can't die while inside. Determined to bring his family into subspace as soon as possible, Jong continues his journey. However, a powerful screech from above reminds him of the second thing he's learned: there are more dangerous creatures beyond orcs. He sees a flying monster, larger than an orc, with wings. As he watches, the creature, a wyvern, swoops down and strikes a man named Mr. Choi, sending him crashing to the ground. Another man rushes to Mr. Choi's aid but is stopped as the wyvern prepares to devour its victim. However, the wyvern seems to ignore everyone else, focusing solely on the smaller, weaker Mr. Choi. The situation looks dire until the sound of a bicycle bell and a bright light catches their attention. Jong arrives just in time, killing the wyvern with a single axe throw, stunning the two men. As the fog clears, the man who tried to help Mr. Choi stares in disbelief, wondering if Jong is a soldier. Jong, covering the light from his bicycle, asks if they are all right. Both men thank him profusely, assuming he's a soldier. Jong corrects them, saying he's not a soldier but an employee of Pax's fulfillment center. Mr. Choi, surprised by his appearance and skills, asks if Jong has awakened any abilities. Jong confirms he has, though it's not something as mundane as a soldier's skill. The other man reveals that he, too, has awakened an ability, though it's a minor one, a driver's ability that he hasn't had many chances to use due to the situation. Mr. Choi, envious, admits he hasn't awakened any abilities himself. Jong asks about any survivors in the area, and Mr. Choi explains that there are around 10 to 15 people left in Block C's underground terminal, though most of the others were killed by monsters. Mr. Choi adds that they had been searching for a road accessible by vehicles when the monsters attacked. Mr. Choi offers Jong a safe place to stay with them on the 4th basement floor, which has never been attacked by monsters. He also offers some snacks, but Jong isn't interested in food or sleep, he's more focused on gathering information, especially about vehicles. He accepts their offer, thanking them for their help. As they head to the basement, Jong's ability automatically retrieves the mana stone from the wyvern's body. He realizes the men still don't know about his powers, and while he trusts them for now, he knows he can escape into subspace if the situation becomes dangerous. Upon reaching the basement, Jong is startled by the sight of a blood-covered man who has just killed an orc by himself. He immediately senses something dangerous about this man, raising his guard. Mr. Choi rushes to the bloodied man and asks if everyone is all right. The man replies that they are fine, explaining that an orc must have wandered in by accident. Luckily, the orc hadn't seen them, so they were able to take it down easily, and no one was injured. However, the man admits that the area can't be considered safe anymore. He stares at the orc's corpse, horrified, thinking how he got told that the monsters wouldn't attack this place. The man then turns to Mr. Choi and asks who the newcomer is. Mr. Choi explains that Jong was the one who saved them from the wyvern and that he used to work at the Pax's fulfillment center. He adds that Jong is incredibly strong, having killed the wyvern by throwing an axe, which shattered along with the wyvern's head. Everyone is amazed by the story, wondering what kind of ability Jong possesses. A woman approaches Jong, excitedly thanking him and asking how she can repay him. She even inquires if he has a girlfriend, but Yongsu, one of the survivors, pushes her away, laughing as he explains their close-knit relationship. Jin Mok introduces himself and thanks Jong again, offering him food and shelter. As Jong settles in, Yongsu nervously reveals that the logistics center they relied on for supplies has vanished. Shock ripples through the group, but Jin Mok remains calm, urging them to dig through the blocked tunnel to the west, their only viable escape route. Jong learns that while vehicles are available, the roads are blocked, and wyverns have taken over the western tunnel. Realizing he could clear the way with his ability, Jong volunteers for a scouting mission, intending to secretly hunt the wyverns and collect mana stones to enhance his powers. He reviews his system and sees that with 5 mana stones, he can reduce his ability's cooldown. With 10 mana stones, he has options to upgrade further, including precise delivery, simultaneous delivery, and automatic delivery. Deciding to keep his true strength hidden for now, Jong plans to clear the tunnel himself. However, Yongsu insists on accompanying him, saying it's too dangerous to go alone. Despite Jong's protests, Yongsu's nervous driving adds to his anxiety, especially as they awkwardly navigate their electric bike. Suddenly, Yongsu spots a wyvern, and Jong quickly kills it with a well-placed throw. As they approach the tunnel, they are stopped by a group of wyverns slowly advancing on them. Yongsu panics, thinking they are doomed, as Jong curses under his breath, realizing he can no longer hide his power. Jong uses his remaining mana stones to reduce his ability's cooldown, and as the wyverns close in, he summons a weapon, instantly killing the nearest wyvern. Yongsu, covering his head in terror, is shocked when he looks up and sees Jong standing with drones floating behind him. After defeating a monster, Jong retrieves mana stones from its corpse and tells Yongsu to stay close for safety. Yongsu agrees, though he's still confused about the situation, particularly the logistics center behind them. Suddenly, more monsters appear, and Jong swiftly takes one down with his axe. However, as more monsters approach, Yongsu panics and stumbles into Jong's subspace. One of the monsters crashes into the subspace barrier, while Yongsu falls out, watching in awe as Jong kills the monster effortlessly. Yongsu can hardly believe what he's seeing, whether it's the logistics center or Jong's flying axes, both seem unreal to him. For Jong, however, these monsters are nothing more than pests. Yongsu reflects on how everyone in the basement had planned to use a delivery vehicle to safely transport food, but even if they made it through the tunnel, monsters would still pose a threat. For Zhang, the vehicle is merely a way to get around. His abilities make the monsters and the journey seem trivial. Yongsu feels a hint of jealousy, thinking how quickly he could have reached his family if he had Zhang's powers. He wonders how far Zhang plans to travel, especially since he needs a vehicle. Just then, they notice the monsters starting to flee, which surprises Zhang. He realizes the creatures are smarter than they seem, choosing to escape instead of attacking further. While collecting mana stones, Yongsu notices a blue stone hovering in the air and asks Zhang what it is. Zhang is surprised Yongsu has never seen a mana stone before and explains that they enhance his abilities. Thereafter, Yongsu remarks that Zhang could easily clear the entire tunnel alone with his powers. Zhang clarifies that he hasn't planned to clear it, he just wants to scout it out. Yongsu then apologizes for tagging along, but Zhang reassures him that it's fine, admitting he wouldn't have found the tunnel without Yongsu's help. Zhang suggests they head back, warning that although the wyverns have retreated, they might return soon. Yongsu then asks how far Zhang plans to travel, given his need for a vehicle. Zhang reveals that his final destination is Wujongbu near the Gangnam district, where his family is. This surprises Yongsu, as his own destination, Indioquan, is along the same route. Yongsu asks if he can travel with Zhang until they reach Indioquan, explaining that even if he gets through the tunnel, he's not confident he can make it home safely on his own. Moreover, Yongsu promises to help Zhang reach Gangnam faster and swears he won't be a burden, even offering to provide food. Zhang begins to see the value in the partnership. Yongsu's driving skills are reliable, and if he joins him, he won't risk exposing Zhang's abilities. Concerned that revealing his powers could make him a target for manipulation or worse, Zhang agrees, and Yongsu excitedly accepts. Zhang warns Yongsu to keep his powers a secret and to ensure that no one interferes with his plans. Yongsu eagerly agrees, but soon after, he excitedly tells everyone that Zhang will clear the tunnel on his own with his awakened abilities. Zhang is stunned as Yongsu spills the secret, and the others become eager to see Zhang in action. Realizing he's been put on the spot, Zhang curses his luck but decides to take responsibility. He declares that by the next morning, the tunnel will be cleared for everyone to pass through. Zhang reasons that helping them is the best course of action. If their supplies run out, chaos will likely ensue. Clearing the tunnel will ensure their safe departure. The group's manager approaches Zhang, expressing gratitude for his efforts and offering some of their food as thanks. Zhang is surprised by the generosity, as he didn't expect repayment. The manager explains that the group feels indebted to Zhang for risking his life to scout the tunnel and now clearing it for them. Although Zhang tries to decline, saying the food should be saved for their families, Yongsu steps in and convinces him to accept it. This reminder of his own family waiting for him hits Zhang hard, and he agrees, not wanting to disappoint anyone. The next morning, as the group reaches the tunnel entrance, Zhang instructs them to stay back. Determined to clear the tunnel, he begins pedaling his bike inside, ready to face whatever awaits him. As Zhang approaches the tunnel, he spots monsters ahead. Before engaging in battle, the scene flashes back to his childhood. A young Zhang, sore from a fight with his sister, complains to their father, sparking another argument between the siblings. Their father, instead of intervening, comments on how lucky they are to have each other, reflecting on his own experience as an only child and reminding them that family is precious. Their mother bursts in, starting an argument with their father, but amidst the chaos, Zhang feels the warmth of family. The scene transitions to the night before the tunnel expedition, with Zhang watching the others anticipate reuniting with their families. Remembering his own family moments, Zhang is touched by how precious those connections are. While everyone sleeps, Yongsu wakes up and notices Zhang is gone. After searching, he finds Zhang loading a vehicle with supplies. Yongsu is shocked by the amount of food Zhang is giving away, and even more astonished when he learns that Zhang has packed 15 other vehicles with the same amount. Zhang asks Yongsu to keep this a secret and reassures him they still have plenty left for their journey. Yongsu realizes that Zhang must have been incredibly stocked to be so generous. Back in the tunnel, Zhang demolishes the monsters effortlessly, thinking about how much easier it would be if he could transport people in his subspace. However, his current level only allows for objects, not people. To reach Subspace level 2, he would need to collect 100 mana stones, but with only about 40 monsters left, it's not enough to level up. Zhang reflects on his need to find another way, as he hopes to one day bring his family into his subspace. Suddenly, he notices a particularly large wyvern-like monster among the fleeing creatures. Zhang senses it might be a boss-level monster, though he's unsure. Outside, the group anxiously waits for Zhang. Some begin to worry, but finally, they see him casually pedaling out of the tunnel, his uniform smeared with blood. The group celebrates joyfully, relieved that Zhang has cleared the path. They prepare to part ways and reunite with their families, expressing gratitude to the manager for staying with them. Before they leave, Zhang hints at a special gift he prepared in the cargo hold, intriguing everyone. They board their trucks, wave their goodbyes, and head down separate roads. Inside the truck, Zhang sits in the passenger seat, preoccupied with the monster he saw. He's unsure if it was a wyvern, as it fled too quickly for a good look, but wonders if it was a leader or an adult version of the others. Zhang's thoughts are interrupted by a strange crunching sound under the truck. Looking down, they realize the truck has run over dead bodies. The driver's face is filled with sadness, but with corpses and wreckage everywhere, they have no choice but to keep moving. Zhang reflects that if his military discharge had been delayed by 3 months, he might have been among the dead soldiers they passed. Suddenly, Yongsu calls out, pointing ahead at a road blocked by barbed wire, likely set up by the military to contain something. Yongsu mentions an alternate bridge they could cross, but before turning the truck around, Zhang spots something unusual at the end of the blocked bridge, a new type of monster. It's clear the military was trying to contain it. While Yongsu panics, Zhang sees an opportunity to level up his subspace. He notices a narrow pedestrian sidewalk along the road, blocked on both sides, and asks Yongsu if they can squeeze the truck through it. The scene opens with Kim Jong sitting in the truck, looking out thoughtfully before speaking to Yongsu. He mentions that passing through this area was a smart choice and that there's no need to take another route. With that decision made, Jong suggests they head there. Curious, Yongsu glances out the window and sees something shocking: a large orc engaged in a fight with a pack of hellhounds. The orc fights bravely, but soon the hellhounds overwhelm him, leaving only fragments behind. Jong and Yongsu watch from the truck, and Yongsu feels anxious. He nervously asks Jong about his earlier comments and if he really plans to cross the bridge. Without hesitation, Zhang confidently replies that he is indeed going to cross and that it's simpler than Yongsu thinks. He then shifts the topic, asking Yongsu if he's ever heard of a game where 3 races battle against each other. Before Yongsu can respond, Zhang explains that the game is called Stark, a space war strategy game. Yongsu nods, noting that it's hard for anyone his age not to know about it. Zhang elaborates that players can customize maps and settings for different experiences. His favorite aspect is a map where players defend against waves of monsters with limited resources. This piques Yongsu's interest, and he thinks about defending against monsters with limited units. Zhang interrupts Yongsu's thoughts, pointing out a spot and telling him to reverse the truck. Following Zhang's directions, Yongsu starts the truck and backs up. The hellhounds, alerted by the noise, grow more agitated. Meanwhile, Zhang opens a system screen, considering how he's been waiting to use a certain ability, and this situation seems suitable for it. The system updates, notifying Zhang that he has unlocked auto ship by spending 10 magic stones, leaving him with 27. As the hellhounds approach, Zhang opens the back door and watches them come closer. He then instructs Pax to spend the remaining magic stones to strengthen the ability. The system responds, consuming 5 magic stones and increasing the shipping speed to 100 km per hour. Zhang, satisfied, announces that it's ready. Growing excited, Zhang shouts that it's playtime. Another system update appears, showing the price of a refrigerator at 2,890,000 won. Suddenly, a refrigerator materializes from subspace and hits several hellhounds, knocking them down. The system updates again, notifying Zhang that he has gained 12 magic stones from the defeated creatures. Thrilled, Zhang exclaims, "This is it." As he observes the refrigerator's impact on the monsters, Zhang reflects on how he reinforced the shipping range and improved the delivery function. He considers throwing an axe but realizes that while the enhanced delivery can adjust slightly to a moving target, it doesn't fully track it. Noticing the hellhound speed, he thinks they're dodging something flying at 100 km per hour. Despite losing one of their own, the hounds keep charging forward. Calculating the situation, Zhang decides that a shipping interval of 2.5 seconds would work best. He realizes that he might need to use a refrigerator instead of an axe. Another refrigerator drops on the hounds, sending them flying. Zhang recognizes that the refrigerator's size and weight can take them down with a glancing blow. Satisfied with his strategy, Zhang talks to himself, noting that with the automatic shipping he just enhanced, things couldn't be more convenient. He yawns, saying there's no need to keep watching. The refrigerators continue to fall on the hellhounds, taking them out one by one. Zhang calls out to Pax to hold on, and Pax responds, "Alright." At that moment, a hellhound growls, but before it can attack, another refrigerator falls, hitting it and sending it backward. Yongsu watches in disbelief from the truck's side mirror, wondering what's going on. He recalls thinking Zhang could only throw axes but sees the same refrigerator being launched repeatedly. As the hellhounds continue to be crushed, Yongsu realizes that the stock might actually be new products each time and thinks, no way. Zhang opens the truck door and casually asks Yongsu if he'd like something to eat. Still in shock, Yongsu nervously asks if the stock is infinite. Zhang pauses and replies, "Oh, didn't you know?" Yongsu admits he thought Jong was collecting axes to reload them but realizes he's retrieving and firing them again. Jong clarifies that if he didn't collect the axes, they would just stay on the road and could hurt Yongsu's feet, so he collects them to avoid that. Yongsu understands now and acknowledges how easy it was to misunderstand the situation. Still curious, he asks again, "So, is it true that the stock is infinite?" Jong simply replies, "Yes." Shifting the focus, Jong asks Yongsu what he wants to eat. Yongsu says he'd like a Coke Zero and a donut. Then, feeling a bit embarrassed, he admits that he doesn't fully understand Jong's ability but appreciates him sharing food. Jong asks if Yongsu has been out of the tunnel patrol. Yongsu confirms, and Jong thanks him for trusting him, offering help if Yongsu ever needs anything. Laughing, Yongsu tells Jong that because he's taking care of the monsters, he thinks he'll get home soon. He mentions that his house is only an hour away once they cross the bridge. Jong remarks that Yongsu will see his family soon, to which Yongsu responds, hoping nothing will happen to them and wishing for Jong's safety as well. Jong points out that Yongsu can't show up to his family looking like this. He suggests they get Yongsu some new clothes and asks if he has a preferred style. Yongsu laughs, thanking Jong for helping with clothing, though he admits he's unsure if Jong will have exactly what he's looking for. Yongsu puts on his sunglasses, and Jong notes that most of their issues are solved, with only one or two left. Yongsu agrees and shifts the truck into gear, speeding toward the bridge. As they drive quickly, Yongsu calls out for Jong to hold on tight, saying it will only take 20 minutes. As the truck gains speed, Jong tells Yongsu to slow down a bit. Soon after, Yongsu confidently announces that they've arrived. Yongsu stands outside the building where his family is supposed to be, trying to reassure himself that the dilapidated structure is merely a sign of age. As he looks around, he notices that the neighboring buildings appear just as run down. This area is definitely outdated. He keeps telling himself there are only remnants of a place long forgotten, no corpses littering the ground, which feels like a good sign. It is a stark contrast to the main street, where bodies are strewn everywhere. Glancing at the door to his flat, he believes his family is safe. All he needs to do is press the buzzer, open the door, and step inside. But as he fixates on the door, fear creeps into Yongsu's heart. Jong, standing beside him, senses Yongsu's hesitation. After driving at top speed to reach his family, can Yongsu truly face what lies behind that door? Jong understands this fear well. If he were in Yongsu's shoes, he doubts he could muster the courage to open it. The thought of finding a cold, lifeless body on the other side is too much to bear. "Let me press the doorbell for you," Jong offers, sensing Yongsu's internal struggle. Startled, Yongsu nods, unable to voice his thoughts. No one wants to confirm the death of a loved one, especially not when there's even a slim chance they might be alive. If he were in Yongsu's position, he would need someone else to take that step as well. Just as Jong reaches for the doorbell, the door swings open unexpectedly. Both men freeze in surprise. There stand Yongsu's wife and daughter, their eyes wide with disbelief. Yongsu can't believe his eyes. His wife, equally shocked, asks if it is really him. Tears stream down Yongsu's face as he rushes forward, embracing his wife and daughter tightly, overwhelmed with relief. Through his tears, he asks his wife how she knows to open the door. She explains that she has heard a noise and peeked through the peephole, immediately recognizing him. Yongsu, still in disbelief, tells them how glad he is that they are safe. His daughter, unable to contain her emotions, bursts into loud sobs. Amidst the emotional reunion, Yongsu's wife turns to Jong, curious about the stranger who has accompanied her husband. Yongsu introduces Jong as the man who helped him reach them safely. Suddenly, Jong looks pale and unsteady, then collapses. Just before losing consciousness, he murmurs that he can't take it anymore and needs sleep. In that moment, everything shifts. Jong's memories swirl back to his childhood. He recalls a day when he asks his father why he is crying. With calm wisdom, his father explains that parting doesn't always bring sadness alone. It stirs up emotions like affection, gratitude, regret, and longing, stemming from the time spent together. Jong's father reassures him that farewells can also evoke gratitude, telling him he will understand when he grows older. The scene shifts again to a playful moment with his older sister, having a pillow fight. They laugh and play, with Jong feigning pain and complaining about how hard she is hitting him. His sister teases him, calling him a crybaby. Moments like these, filled with playful bickering, define their family life. Another memory flashes, this time at the dinner table. Jong and his sister argue again, prompting their father to intervene. He reminds them that despite the annoyances, they will one day realize the preciousness of family love, explaining that it is one of life's greatest gifts. The present shifts to Jong's first day of middle school, filled with excitement until older students bully him. A boy steps in, encouraging him to toughen up by joining morning exercises. This moment sparks Jong's determination to grow stronger, focusing on his physical health from then on. Memories of family continue to unfold: his sister's acceptance into nursing school, his father's pride at his military college acceptance, and his mother's worry as he leaves for college. Each memory feels vivid and alive. Then, abruptly, Jong wakes up. Disoriented, he realizes it has all been a dream, but the last moments are still fresh in his mind. A voice interrupts his thoughts, asking if he is awake. He looks up to see Yongsu's wife and daughter sharing lunch, grounding him back to reality. Jong observes Yongsu's wife and daughter quietly. After a moment, Yongsu's wife asks if he's okay, noting that he suddenly fell asleep. She explains that he was sleeping so deeply she didn't want to wake him. Jong stays silent for a bit before asking how long he had been asleep. She tells him it was about 3 hours and adds that her husband shared how much Jong helped him on their way here. Yongsu's wife expresses her gratitude, and Jong humbly replies that Yongsu helped him just as much. He says that compared to Yongsu's contributions, his own efforts seem minor. Just then, Yongsu wakes up and claims that Jong actually saved his life. Seeing everyone awake, Yongsu's wife insists that Jong must be hungry. She urges him to eat first, mentioning that her husband wanted to wait to eat with him, so Yongsu hasn't eaten yet either. Yongsu agrees, and Jong readily accepts the invitation. When the food is served, he notices it's conger eel stew and wonders about its taste. Yongsu's wife, slightly apologetic, explains that it might not be to his liking, as she had limited ingredients. Jong thanks her, and she reassures him that they have already eaten, so he shouldn't worry and should just enjoy his meal. As he takes his first bite, he is pleasantly surprised by the flavors, especially the sweet and oily taste of the stir-fried kimchi. It brings him a comforting feeling, and he reflects that, since leaving the military 3 months ago, this is the best meal he has had. Afterward, Yongsu asks Jong about his destination, mentioning Gangnam, and offers to drive him there. Jong is surprised but listens as Yongsu explains that he has already talked it over with his wife. When Yongsu mentioned Jong's search for his family, his wife asked if only their family mattered. Jong clarifies that Gangnam isn't his final stop. He plans to head to Wajongbu and will need the car for a longer time. Yongsu understands and tells Jong there is a condition to his offer. He suggests stepping outside to discuss it further. Outside, by the truck, Jong asks if Yongsu means they will drive to Gangnam, and after arriving, Yongsu will return on an electric bicycle. Yongsu confirms this, explaining that the condition is for Jong to give him the electric bike. While it may not seem like much, Yongsu is willing to drive him to Gangnam as quickly as he can. Jong wonders why Yongsu is taking this risk, thinking about how his driving skills might help them avoid monsters. Still, he considers the danger. After seeing Yongsu's family safe with food and supplies, Jong questions why Yongsu would take this risk. He asks why Yongsu is willing to help him, especially since he has already risked so much. Yongsu turns the question back, asking why Jong helped him in the first place. He explains that without Jong's assistance, he wouldn't have made it this far and might not have escaped the tunnel. He feels he is repaying a favor in any way he can, noting that they are both in a tough situation. Yongsu acknowledges that even though Jong has awakened a powerful ability, things are still difficult for him. He adds that despite the world state, they hold on to the hope that their families are safe, just as he did while passing through the tunnel. Yongsu states that they should help each other, although he feels it's presumptuous to say he's helping. He assures Jong that if things worsen, he won't hesitate to flee, as he wouldn't put his family or himself in danger unnecessarily. The scene shifts as Jong returns with the electric bicycle and finds a car with the keys inside. He drives away on the bike and explains his ability to Yongsu. He describes his subspace as a space where nothing can enter without his permission and how he can duplicate items from storage. Yongsu acknowledges that Jong had explained this before. Jong sets a condition for Yongsu's help. He asks Yongsu to accompany him until they reach Wajongbu, as he can't do it alone. He mentions that once his subspace levels up, he can bring in others, including Yongsu's family. Jong reveals that defeating the monster dogs allows him to level up his subspace. If Yongsu continues to help him find his family, he promises to protect Yongsu's family as well. Yongsu agrees without hesitation, saying they should leave immediately. At that point, a system screen appears, showing the upgrade of Jong's subspace. As it progresses, the capacity expands to hold up to 20 people, and a new ability allows him to store items directly in front of him. Jong remarks that the maintenance cost is a bit high but decides to check on it later. Another system screen appears, indicating an external presence attempting to enter. Jong allows Yongsu, his wife, and daughter into his subspace. Inside, they are surprised by what they see. Jong introduces Pax, his assistant, and tells Yongsu's family that if they need anything, they can ask Pax, who can deliver items if needed. He mentions there's even a fresh food center where they can get most ingredients. Yongsu's wife hesitates, asking if they are really allowed to use it. Jong reassures her that everything in the subspace is infinite, and since items can be duplicated, they can take whatever they need without asking. He suggests that Yongsu take a break, as they will head out in about 30 minutes. He also needs to check on some things related to his abilities. Yongsu responds that he's ready whenever Jong is. He turns to his daughter and asks if she wants to play princess with him after a long time, while his wife goes to prepare snacks. Jong, focused on his abilities, checks his system and sees new features, including a subspace lab for combining, classifying, storing, and transforming items. Zhang stands before the screen, reviewing his power, Subspace, which allows him to store objects and access them at will. He realizes this is just the original scope of his ability. After merging with the Logistic Center, Pax-Al, and the Awakening System OS, his powers have expanded beyond simply opening and closing Subspace. His thoughts race as he reflects on new functions, like shipment, which enables him to throw objects at 100 kilometers per hour. The original Subspace ability is impressive, but meeting Pax has made it more complex. Although he didn't expect new powers with each level up, they keep appearing. Staring at the screen, he wonders if he can store more than just Pax FC in his Subspace. Is it possible to create a lab there for combining, separating, and transforming items? He feels leveling up is making his powers more versatile but is limited by a lack of mana stones. Zhang confirms what happens when he first stores Pax FC, feeling a bit mad when he gives the command, yet Pax FC is indeed stored. He wonders aloud if he could store the Earth. When he commands the system, a message appears, failed to store the Earth. Target is outside storable range. Sighing, he says this just as Yongsu approaches, informing him that the route to Gangnam has been checked. Zhang curiously asks about Yongsu's daughter, who is peacefully asleep, feeling safe after playing. Later, Yongsu thanks Zhang for his help, and Zhang responds that they're just helping each other. Yongsu agrees and promises to assist in any way he can. Feeling uneasy about the seriousness, Zhang jokes that it makes him uncomfortable. Yongsu insists he can only help with driving but assures him he's a fast driver. Worried, Zhang asks if they can go slower, but Yongsu refuses. Eventually, Zhang gives in and asks to speed up. As they begin their journey, Yongsu notices the deserted road, noting there are no monsters likely due to the lack of people. He mentions the road isn't well known, being an undeveloped archaeological site. Zhang, tired, hopes it ends soon. Suddenly, Yongsu spots military barricades with spike strips. He wonders if the military is still around, considering a base nearby. Zhang doubts it, observing that while the vehicle and weapons are military, the people are not. He realizes they've been watched and can't avoid confrontation. He instructs Yongsu to enter the portal he opens under the steering wheel, noting that if they meant harm, they would have shot already. 3 people watch them, and one complains about the driver, hoping to see the tires burst. The man orders Zhang to get out and open the cargo. Zhang complies, revealing tuna fish boxes. The man excitedly claims it's a jackpot and declares the supplies are now theirs. Realizing they're after the food, Zhang offers to bring them more, but another man reminds them it's time. The leader grabs Zhang and punches him in the stomach, causing him to fall unconscious, faintly hearing voices discussing him. When Zhang regains consciousness, he finds himself tied to a chair inside what appears to be a military base. Looking around, he notices a soldier's corpse. The leader approaches, confirming that Zhang brought the supplies and is the only one who can access the logistics center. Zhang explains he gathered everything from the Gunpo Logistics Center, impressing the leader, who admits he should have thought of it himself. Confused, Zhang asks where he is and what is happening. The leader explains they are at communications headquarters and admits he's exempt from military service. He tells Zhang to wait for someone's arrival, as it would be better for him to see for himself. Suddenly, a loud noise fills the air. The leader smiles, saying it has arrived. Zhang rushes to look outside, stunned to see wyverns flying above. One creature is especially large, leaving him in awe. The leader explains that this wyvern is dangerous and shares that he nearly died fighting it. He points to the corpse of a soldier, explaining that bullets are ineffective against the monsters. He hasn't killed the soldiers yet and saved Zhang because he seems useful. The leader orders Zhang to take the kids to the logistics center for more supplies. Zhang realizes this place is ideal for his next move and commands Pax to store the entire Joint Command Communications headquarters in his subspace. The leader, confused and alarmed, demands to know if Zhang wants to die. Before he can react, the headquarters vanishes, leaving them standing in an open field. The group suddenly finds themselves in open fields, confused about the disappearance of the building. Their leader, shocked, questions what just happened. Zhang starts feeling nauseous, recalling the sensation he experienced when he stored Pax. Worried about the side effects of using subspace, he realizes he needs to cut the connection fast. Meanwhile, Suk-jun notices wyverns approaching and screams that danger is near. A wyvern growls loudly, sending the group into a panic. The leader angrily orders them to stop running and start shooting, focusing on the smaller wyverns before tackling the larger one. He admits guns alone might not be enough but believes his ability could help catch the creature. Just then, a large wyvern charges toward Zhang. In panic, he opens a subspace portal and allows the injured soldier, Han Hyung-ho, to enter. Inside subspace, Zhang reflects on the chaos he slipped into and realizes the danger of storing things during critical moments. Suddenly, he sees a wyvern staring intently at him. A man punches the wyvern, boasting that he's leveled up, but Zhang watches in horror as the wyvern devours him. Yongsu rushes in, checking on everyone. He asks about the injured guard, whom Zhang explains was likely tortured by gangsters. They move him to a bed, and Yongsu suggests feeding him when he wakes up. Zhang then mentions a new building has appeared, explaining he brought in a military base without knowing its size. supplies. Jong has something to check and asks Yongsoo to watch over the injured soldier. Yongsoo agrees but wonders what Jong plans to do with the military base. Riding an electric bike to the base, Jong thinks about its endless possibilities: guns, ammunition, explosives, and military vehicles, all crucial for survival in an apocalyptic world. However, unlike the logistics center in Subspace, this base doesn't operate autonomously. Pax managed everything at the logistics center, but here they must do everything manually. Surveying the base, Jong notes that the guns are in the armory, while ammo and explosives are in the magazine. The sheer size of the base is overwhelming, and he realizes that Yongsoo, with no combat experience, would be the one using the weapons. They'll need to retrieve the guns and ammo cautiously, as supplies aren't infinite like in the logistics center. Suddenly, a drone enters, startling Jong. He demands to know since when it had been there. The drone explains that Subspace has been programmed with a logistics system format by Pax. Sector 2, recently added, is also treated as a warehouse. Jong is shocked but listens as Pax states that the classification system is still in progress. Once complete, Jong will be able to use items from Sector 2 like those in Sector 1. When Jong asks if rifles and ammo can be duplicated, Pax confirms, noting progress is only at 0.81%. Jong, still amazed by the potential, asks how long the process will take. Pax explains that it's difficult to provide an exact estimate, as the time varies depending on the item. However, Pax offers to prioritize specific items if Jong provides a list. Without hesitation, Jong requests rifles, ammo, grenades, vehicles, and fuel. Pax assures him that within 10 minutes, product codes will be assigned to these items. Jong then asks if Pax can block others from ordering these items, and Pax responds that it will restrict ordering permissions for them. Jong, internally cautious, admits to himself that while he trusts Yongsoo and his family, he's not yet sure about the soldier. Now that weapons and vehicles are ready, Jong hopes the situation outside will resolve itself. However, looking out, he spots wyverns and quickly realizes that things are far from over. He sees too many of the creatures, particularly one large wyvern, and concludes that the only option left is to shoot at them. The scene shifts to Yongsoo, who, reminiscing about his time in the reserves, comments on how long it's been since he last shot a gun. Jong informs him that he's packed plenty of magazines in a box, each holding 10,000 rounds. He advises Yongsoo to simply toss the gun and grab a new one if it jams. Jong adds that it would have been convenient if the magazines had come pre-attached to the guns, but unfortunately, that's not how they were registered in the system. Jong checks if Yongsoo knows how to shoot, to which Yongsoo confidently responds, ready to test his reservist skills. Loading his rifle, Yongsoo remarks that seeing is faster than explaining, and the two prepare for action. The scene shifts again to intense firing. Both Yongsoo and Jong are continuously firing at the wyverns, steadily taking them down. As the battle progresses, Yongsoo takes a brief pause and remarks to Jong that rapid fire is tougher than he expected. Glancing out of the subspace portal, Yongsoo notes that it looks like they have the situation under control for now. Jong, not convinced, tells him it's not over yet. Yongsoo, confused, points out that there are no standing wyverns left. Jong agrees, noting that none of them are standing anymore. But something is amiss, the body of the big one is missing. Yongsoo, alarmed, asks who Jong is referring to, and Jong confirms that there was definitely one large wyvern unaccounted for. Jong and Yongsoo know they have to be very careful to survive. Huge dragons, called wyverns, are hiding in the danger zone, waiting to attack. To check if one is nearby, they come up with a clever plan. They decide to use remote-controlled cars as bait. Each car has a doll on top that looks like a person. They send the cars through the portal, making it seem like humans are walking into the danger. It doesn't take long before a giant wyvern appears. The beast gets down, piercing the doll with its sharp claws. It tears the doll apart, ripping it into pieces. Yongsoo is horrified as he watches the wyvern destroy the doll. Its massive teeth shine in the light, each one as big as his body. The wyvern then turns its glowing eyes toward the portal and charges forward, trying to force its way inside. Jong panics and shouts at Yongsoo to start shooting. They both fire every bullet they have at the beast. For 15 minutes, the room echoes with gunfire, and smoke fills the air. They hope the wyvern is defeated. When the smoke clears, Jong and Yongsoo can still see its glowing eyes staring at them. The beast looks unharmed. Frustrated, they start throwing grenades. They hope the explosions will hurt the wyvern, meanwhile the portal's unique properties prevent the beast from getting in. Even so, the grenades don't seem to do much damage. After what feels like hours of trying, the wyvern finally stops and decides to go away. Jong and Yongsoo are relieved but completely exhausted. Yongsoo can't stop thinking about how strong the wyvern is. He wonders what kind of weapon could defeat such a powerful creature. As they drive away, Yongsoo talks about how their grenades and guns aren't strong enough to kill a wyvern. Jong agrees. He explains that regular weapons are made for fighting humans, not giant dragons. Jong decides to check how many magic stones he has left. To his surprise, he finds 314 stones in his inventory. He remembers how hard it was to collect stones in the past and wonders if killing wyverns gives more. Jong decides to upgrade his abilities. He uses 100 stones to improve his subspace. Now, he can send items up to 50 meters away and ship 4 items every second. Excited by his new powers, he thinks about how much stronger they can become. He still has 189 stones left, so he decides to explore a feature he unlocked earlier, the Pocket Dimension Lab. The lab is a bright, empty space where Jong can combine or separate items. He experiments by merging a gun with its ammo, creating a weapon that doesn't need reloading. He also modifies grenades so they explode as soon as they are sent out. These changes give Jong new ideas for how to fight the wyvern. He starts working on a special weapon to give them an edge. While Jong is busy in the lab, Youngsu keeps driving. They are almost at Gangnam when they see a wall of cars blocking the road. The cars are stacked high, forming a huge barrier. Youngsu suggests they take a turn, but Jong steps out of his subspace with a plan. Jong uses his new weapon, heavy metal plates, each weighing 20 kilograms. The plates fly out at high speed, smashing through the wall of cars. The plates hit so hard that the cars scatter like toys. Youngsu watches in amazement. "What did you make?" he asks, shocked. The story continues with survivors guarding the road from the top of a building, trying to spot monsters. Their weapons are nothing more than household tools, making them feel helpless. A middle-aged man stares nervously at the collapsed car wall, confused about how it fell so quickly. Everyone is stunned when a military jeep comes into view. Jong asks the guards about her sister Kim. In a flashback, we see Kim, the eldest sibling, is busy studying. She tells her younger brothers and sisters to stay quiet because she's preparing for an exam. Her siblings and parents begin to worry about her, as she was the one who couldn't sit in chair for more than half an hour. Suddenly, Kim's frustration bursts out as she reveals her secret: she dreams of becoming a nurse. Her family is shocked and argues, thinking this is just a passing phase. But days turn into months, and Kim proves them wrong. She works hard, gets top grades, and eventually earns a spot at the best nursing school. Back in the present, Kim freezes in shock as she sees Jong return. Their reunion is deeply emotional, with both of them crying. Kim wants to give Jeong a chocolate bar, but he refuses and their conversation turns to a critical patient. Jong tells her about the injured man is in his subspace, a hidden dimension only he can access. When Kim examines the man, she realizes his condition is bad. Jong believes the man was beaten and tortured, and his health was already failing before they found him. Kim delivers sad news: the man might not survive much longer. Jong and Youngsu are filled with disappointment but refuse to give up hope. Then, Kim surprises them. Her hands start glowing with a green light, and she smiles with newfound confidence. Using her healing ability, she stabilizes the man. His wounds close, and his breathing evens out, although Kim herself is weak and malnourished. After that, Jong explains everything happened to him to Kim. He also shows his desire to move his family into subspace, but Kim refuses. As this happens, a shadowy figure watches their building from a distance. This figure learns from guards that the loud crash outside came from a jeep breaking through the car wall. He comes to know that one of those guys is Kim's younger brother. A towering man steps out of the shadows. He is 7 feet tall, muscular, and lifeless looking, like a walking corpse. He receives orders to greet Kim and her brother while also repairing the damaged car wall. Later, Kim tells Jong about Jin, the head of her department. Jin has a dangerous awakened ability that allows him to control minds and poison people. Kim explains that the people in her building are starving, and she has been secretly stealing monotones to strengthen her healing power. Her hope is to cure those affected by Jin's abilities. Jong listens carefully and reassures her with confidence. "This is no big deal for me," he says. When Kim sees Kim's incredible abilities in action, she is left completely stunned. Jin comes to know Kim and her brother have brought enough supplies to fill a truck but brushes it off as unimportant. Even so, their generosity has made his job easier. Now, everything can unfold without him putting in much effort. As Jin schemes, he grabs his drug and orders his assistant to mix it into the food meant for Kim and her brother. Once they eat it, he plans to bring them under his control. If they refuse, he's prepared to kill them. Meanwhile, Jong walks through the hospital, focused on distributing food to everyone. Kim had already informed him about the pervy doctor's influence. Jong explains that the drug causes temporary mind control, but its effects eventually wear off. His plan is to eliminate the doctor's hold over the hospital by providing unlimited food so that people stop eating the drugged meals. Kim isn't too worried. She assures Jong that most of the hospital residents only have harmless abilities. She even lists some of their powers, like warming hands, pressing fabric, or washing clothes without tools, things that seem pretty useless in a dangerous world. However, Kim warns Jong about one exception: Song, a powerful and dangerous man who could be a real threat. As Jong continues his rounds, heavy footsteps echo in the hallway. A massive figure appears, Song, towering over Jong and radiating danger. Song wastes no time, dragging Jong out of the car barrier and presenting him with two grim choices: drink the drugged medicine or die. Jong, however, refuses to comply. He boldly announces that he's choosing a third option, to defeat Song and take him down. Just as Song prepares to attack, a barrier appears between them, and Pax appears holding a small red bowling ball. Pax throws it directly at Song's chest with a loud sound, making him fall. Jong follows up by launching another bowling ball at Song's feet, knocking him off balance and causing him to fall. Ultimately, Jong manages to capture Song. After that, Young succumbs to Jonggam Kim, but something seems wrong. He's under the influence of that doctor's drug, his mind controlled, and his body poisoned. Jong quickly pulls Youngsu into his subspace, and a system notification alerts him that an unknown energy tried to enter but was instantly expelled. Inside the subspace, Youngsu's pain disappears, and the signs of mind control vanish. Jong realizes that his subspace has the ability to neutralize all poisons and drugs. So he let enter Song in his subspace, which results complete recovery of Song from Jin's poison. Later, Song reunites with his mother, who embraces him tightly, relieved that he is safe. Then, a fully recovered Song approaches Kim. Song apologizes, explaining that while under the drug's influence, he could see and hear everything but had no control over his actions. Then he decides to take his revenge. Back at the Jin's hideout, he receives a system notification that his connection with Song has been severed. Furious and panicking, the doctor doesn't see what's coming next. Song, now free from the drug, bursts in and smashes the doctor's head. The pervy doctor collapses, lifeless, ending his reign of control. Jong, Youngsu, and Kim are in a hospital, working hard to free the patients from the mind control of Dr. Jin. They realize that waiting for the effects of the mind control to wear off naturally would take too long, so Jong decides to use his subspace ability to help the patients break free instantly. An elderly patient, who had been under the doctor's control, shows that he can now move freely, and soon, others in the hospital begin to regain control of their own minds. As the patients start to recover, Jong watches as an elderly couple embraces and cries, happy to be free from the control they were under. This moment makes Jong realize how powerful his ability is in helping people regain their freedom. However, just as he's reflecting on this, a heavy and threatening voice interrupts his thoughts. He turns around and sees Song, approaching with his body covered in blood. Song immediately recognizes that without Jong's help, he would never have escaped pervy doctor's control or been able to reunite with his mother. Jong quickly realizes that Song must have killed the doctor, and now the mind control over the hospital's patients has ended. Even though Jong is glad the control is broken, he remains uneasy because he knows Song is powerful enough to kill an ordinary person with just one punch. Jong tells Song that they are heading to Yujiro City to find his sister. He asks if Song knows anything about the city, and Song warns him that getting to Yujiro City might be impossible due to the strange events happening there. The scene shifts to Jong giving Song supplies like survival tools, food, clothes, and medicine. The two shake hands warmly, ready for the journey ahead. As they drive, Jong reflects on the warning Song gave about Yujiro City. In a flashback, Song describes the terrifying events happening there. He mentions that a huge wall had started to rise from the ground between Namsan and Yujiro, a strange and ominous sign. Jong considers using his ability to break through the wall, but then Youngsu adds something even more terrifying: Yujiro City is filled with skeleton monsters. Jong feels a chill as he processes this new information. He realizes that the monsters might be unable to die, making them even more dangerous. The scene shifts back to the present, and Jong continues to reflect on his youngest sister being in Yujiro City. Instead of worrying about her safety, Jong feels sympathy for the monsters trapped inside the wall, wondering if they even have a chance of surviving. Just then, a system notification pops up, telling Jong that Kim is calling him from inside the subspace. Jong answers, and comes to know that Han Ho, a soldier from the 50th Intelligence Communication Battalion, wakes up and introduces himself to Jong and Kim. They are currently in Kim's subspace dimension, which exists inside Gangnam but is invisible to outsiders. Han Ho requests to be dropped off in Gangnam to complete an important mission. Jong reassures him that it's not because he doesn't trust him but because Han Ho has critical information. He explains that creatures from another world started appearing across the globe, attacking humans and animals. In response, the government recruited individuals with special abilities, known as Awakeners, to fight back. Han Ho's mission was to gather awakened people and form a special force, but things went terribly wrong when a huge black dragon appeared, causing chaos. Han Ho reached out to nearby military units for help, but there was no response. His team retreated to the nearest city, recruiting more awakened individuals, but when they arrived, they found the military buildings abandoned and the units wiped out. Zhang and Youngsu immediately sensed something is wrong. They realized that someone high up in the government must be blocking communication and working with traitors. Han Ho stresses the urgency of informing the Joint Chief about the betrayal and agrees that exposing the traitor is critical. Zhang promises to drop him off at the military base of the Joint Chief on the way to Yujiro City. As Han Ho contemplates the black dragon that destroyed his unit, he wonders how Zhang, who doesn't seem physically strong, was able to defeat such a powerful beast. Just then, a massive orc appears at the portal's edge, its body covered in disgusting larvae, glaring menacingly at Zhang, Youngsu, and Han Ho. The orc lets out an earth-shattering scream, sending a chill down their spines. Han, a soldier, faces the challenge of battling an orc that has destroyed his entire military unit. However, he is left in shock when Zhang, a powerful warrior, defeats the orc effortlessly and takes it away. Han is even more surprised when a portal opens above them, leading to a military jeep. The supernatural abilities displayed by Zhang leave Han in confusion. He's witnessed iron pillars being launched into monsters and military vehicles being summoned from thin air. As the group continues their journey, Zhang's partner, Youngsu, begins creating portals behind the jeep. He launches iron pillars at high speed in all directions, obliterating monsters from all sides. Zhang retrieves the iron pillars after firing them, even extracting mana stones from the monsters they kill. This shows Zhang's power and skill as he seems to have control over both the battlefield and the items he uses. When they reach the bridge, they find that the bridge has been completely destroyed, but Zhang apologizes for the inconvenience. He assures Han that they will reach their destination in about an hour. Han is astonished at the progress they've made, considering the obstacles they've faced along the way. Zhang and Youngsu's abilities, along with Youngsu's impressive driving skills, have allowed them to cover this distance in what feels like an impossibly short time. Han rests in Zhang's subspace, reflecting on the speed of their travel and how these abilities have shaped their journey. As they approach their destination, they come across a massive stone fortress. Zhang assesses the situation, realizing that driving the jeep directly into the fortress won't be possible. With the destruction of bridge, they are forced to take a longer route toward city. Han, grateful for Zhang and Youngsu's help, prepares to part ways with them. Kim, however, is still thinking about the fortress. He wonders if it's possible to bring the entire city of Yujiro into his subspace, which could bring him closer to reuniting with his sister. But as Zhang processes this, he notices something unexpected. He has already collected 400 mana stones in just 1 hour. With his goal of gathering 1,000 mana stones in mind, Zhang decides to continue for another 2 hours. While thinking this over, Han, the director of the 50th Battalion of the National Communication Agency, asks if Zhang and Youngsu would join him in his mission. Han explains that the government is offering support, including mana stones, to help awakened individuals like Zhang and Youngsu grow stronger. Zhang thanks Han for the offer but firmly refuses, stating that his sole mission is to rescue his family and that he can collect mana stones faster on his own than with military assistance. Han recalls how effortlessly Zhang had defeated numerous orcs and collected mana stones along the way. He's unsure how to persuade Zhang to join the military. Zhang then mentions that there must be a helicopter at the military base, which Han confirms. The scene shifts to the military base, where the director is deeply concerned about the deteriorating state of the government. The military units have been destroyed, communication has broken down, and the special unit of awakened soldiers is trapped, overwhelmed by monster attacks. A new officer enters and informs the director that Han has critical information about Zhang and Youngsu. The director, confused, is also surprised by Zhang's request for a helicopter. He offers a condition: if Zhang and Youngsu agree to join the military as awakened soldiers, they will be given the helicopter. Zhang, understanding the military's need for helicopters, responds calmly but without any intention of joining the military. He has no hard feelings about the situation. As Zhang and Han leave, there's tension in the air, and the military's true motives for recruiting Zhang become uncertain. Zhang considers his next moves when he receives a new task: eliminate skeleton monsters and rescue trapped soldiers in exchange for the promised helicopter. Zhang opens 3 portals, easily dispatching the skeletons like toys, which leaves the military men speechless at his abilities. The narrative shifts to a building where awakened soldiers are trapped. Zhang rescues them, and the convoy of military trucks moves forward. Zhang reflects on a dangerous creature he's heard about, the Skeleton Knight. This monster has wiped out half of the military forces sent to Yujiro City, and the director had warned Zhang not to confront it. Nevertheless, Zhang opens a portal and hurls a 100 kilograms iron pillar at the skeleton knight. The monster unsheathes his sword and cuts the pillar in two with ease, showing just how dangerous these skeleton monsters are.